So I will sort of start explaining the answer that we have. So there are two people whose insights into chapter 11 are interesting and important. And both of them are Maharshis. One is Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi you have all heard of. He was in Tiruvannamalai and he was one of the greatest sages of the 20th century. He died in 1950 and he was born in 1879. So he lived for 71 years. And there is a lot of documentation around him, a lot of recording of his actual conversations and the spiritual. He never used to give a discourse, but he used to always answer questions from people who used to come for his darshan. So all that has been recorded. So he is one of the Maharshis whose views on the Gita we'll be looking at, more particularly 11th chapter. Then there is one more Maharshi. He's been bestowed the title of Maharshi. He is Maharshi Vedamurti Pandit Shripad Damodar Satwalekar. So if you recall, when we were doing the 10th chapter, we were looking at some categorizations. And one of the inspirations behind the recategorization of the 75 vibhutis is Satwalekar. Now, Satwalekar was again a great Vedic Pandit. He was a yogi, he was an artist, and he has also a number of publications on the Vedas, which is in terms of the grammatical structure of the Vedas, the linguistic structure. So he is a very, very well-known Mahatma in that sense. He was called Maharshi by the many people that were in touch with him. So he used to write in Marathi. So mainly Marathi and Hindi. A good command over Hindi. So we'll be referring to
Can you tell his name again, please?
Maharshi Vedamurti Pandit. These are all the titles. Shripad, also a title. Damodar Satwalekar.
Damodar Satwalekar.
दामोदर सातवलेकर. तो इनकी जो है एक किताब है, ये है श्रीमद् भगवद गीता पुरुषार्थ बोधिनी. Now this comes in 4 volumes. This volume is chapter 7 to 11. आपको ये कोने में दिख रहा होगा. तो ऐसे 4 volumes हैं. तो ये जो है बहुत ही, it's a, I mean, you should go to this commentary only after you read all other commentaries and you've exhausted their meaning, because the commentary here is at a very yogic level. So if you have some experience in meditation, you will understand the interpretation. So let me begin with the interpretation. Hello, Rakesh, welcome.
Rakesh has come.
Yeah. So, excuse me. Yeah. So we'll begin with what Satwalekar has to say. So Satwalekar, when he talks about the 11th chapter, of course, just to give the background to Rakesh and to Sunil, there were some questions raised by Sunil ji on the 11th chapter, because it's a perplexing chapter, Vishwarupa Darshan, and it has a number of anomalies. How can all those figures be found inside the body of Krishna? Who is Krishna? And so on and so forth. There are a lot of logical inconsistencies. So we need to understand that from the more spiritual perspective. So Satwalekar kya kehte hain? Satwalekar says that whatever we have in the 11th chapter is but a continuation of certain ideas expressed in the previous chapters. So what are those ideas expressed in the previous chapters? He's just giving the key phrases. तो एक तो जो ब्रह्मन जो substratum है, उसको हम सर्वगतः बोलते हैं. सर्वगतः means it is all pervasive. Sarvagatah means it has gone everywhere. Then the other phrase that is used, Sarvagata Brahma. Then we have Brahmarpanam. Okay, so let me also give you the reference to the shlokas. Sarvagatah Atma is shloka 2.24. Then Sarvagatam Brahma is shloka 3.15. Then we have the famous shloka in chapter 4 as Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanautam ब्रह्मेव तेन गंतव्यम ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना. दिस इज 4.24. तो यहाँ पे तो ब्रह्म को पूरे यज्ञ के कंपोनेंट्स के साथ लिंक किया कि भाई आप अर्पण हैं, आप हवन हैं, आप देने वाले हैं, आप घी हैं, आप जो भी हैं सब पूरा आप ही हैं. ओके. देन इन दी 9th चैप्टर एक और श्लोक है, 16th वन. अहम क्रतुर अहम यज्ञ स्वादाहम अहम औषधम मंत्रोहम हमें वाज्यम अहम अग्नि अहम हुतम. तो जो अहम है वो ब्रह्म की तरह, these are various manifestations. So this is there in the 9th chapter. And in that way, he has given some 11 more references. If you want, I will give those references right now. Do you want them? So the idea behind all these references is that the characteristics of Brahma or Brahman, not Brahma, Brahma तो creator हो गया, Brahman जो आपका substratum है, they have already been hinted at in the previous chapters. Now he comes to the critical aspect, the relation between the 10th chapter and the 11th chapter. Now in the 10th chapter, you are aware is Vibhuti Yoga. तो Vibhuti Yoga में एक category को लेके उसमें बेस्ट इन कैटेगरी हैज बीन हाईलाइटेड. जैसे शस्त्रधारियों में मैं राम हूं, पांडवों में मैं धनंजय हूं, आदित्याओं में मैं सूर्य हूं, आदित्याओं में मैं विष्णु हूं. सो देयर इज अ कैटेगरी एंड देयर इज अ चॉइस विद इन द कैटेगरी. नाउ द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, बाकी लोगों का क्या होगा? इट्स लाइक सेइंग मेरा नंबर कब आएगा? जो एक पांडव को तो चूज कर लिया, बाकी 4 पांडवों का क्या होगा? Where are they? Are they not good? So, while the 10th chapter deals with a specialized reference, the 11th chapter, in continuation with the references to Brahma, deals with the overall category. भाई अगर आप शस्त्रधारी हैं तो आप मुझ में हैं. So, it expands the category to include everybody. That is the one factor that is particular in the 11th chapter. Now, further what Maharshi says, Maharshi Satwalekar says is कि it is a literary practice in the Indian scriptural tradition to talk about the Vishwarupa. Okay. Then what he has done is, after saying that it is only a continuation, it is a broadening of the category, he has got a number of quotations from the Rig Veda. जैसे आपने ऋग वेद में पुरुष सूक्त का सुना होगा, तो पुरुष सूक्त में भी ऐसे बोलते हैं आपके बहुत सारे पांव हैं, आपके बहुत सारे हाथ हैं, आपके बहुत सारे नेत्र हैं. So in the Rig Veda, in the Yajur Veda, in the Atharva Veda, there are various references to this Vishwarupa along similar dimensions. What he has further done is, he has also looked into, I will tell you, अथर्ववेद हो गया, फिर उपनिषदों में भी जो विश्वरूप का वर्णन है वो ईशा उपनिषद में है, फिर वो यो कठोपनिषद में है, प्रश्नोपनिषद में है, मुंडक उपनिषद में है, फिर मांडूक्य उपनिषद में है, तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद में है. So you have various references to Vishwarupa. So the point that Satwalekar makes is that while when we read the Bhagavad Gita, we will only be thinking of the Vishwarupa darshan given during Krishna's visit to the Kaurava court just before the war, where he has gone to sort out matters and then Duryodhana tries to imprison him. But it is a continuing tradition. Ab, what is the funda behind the tradition? Because what we find in the 11th chapter is a continuation of the tradition. So the point that we need to understand, which is what I'm trying to bring out from other books, is the first point that is the key to understanding the chapter is this, and this is from a modern day physicist named Ravi Ravindra. He says that 11th chapter का एक ही significance है, वो ये है कि where is it? Yeah. So the key thing is that if you look at religious literature across the world, now he is giving further supporting evidence to his point. So what's he saying? He says हर जगह they have said that we need a
कनेक्शन डाउन हो गया लगता
Yeah.
है, इस इंटरनेट इंटरप्टेड.
Please connect again, Raj.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you lost me.
Yeah. So probably what you said in last 2 minutes, you might have to repeat.
Okay. So Ravi Ravindra is a physicist who is Professor Emeritus in the Dalhousie University in Halifax in Nova Scotia in Canada. He's about 85 years old now, still very vigorous. He does a lot of yoga. So he has this book called Bhagavad Gita, a guide to navigation, the battle of life. So his is a very interestingly logical explanation. So what he says is, the 11th chapter, and I'll just read from what he has to say. In order to see things of the spirit, we need eyes of the spirit, for the eyes of flesh can only see things of flesh. As Plotinus is a Greek philosopher, says, to any vision must be brought an eye adapted to what is to be seen and having some likeness to it. Never did an eye see the sun unless it had first become sunlight, and never can a soul have the vision of the first beauty unless it itself becomes beautiful. So the whole rationale is not what you see, because once you have a spiritual eye, you are able to see the interconnection of the universe, and the terms used in the interconnection are from traditional Indian mythology. So if someone had developed the spiritual eye from the Greek tradition, he may have explained things from the Greek tradition. But again, he says something very interesting. He says that, interestingly, if you survey entire world spiritual literature, and I'm going to read from him, in the whole world literature, it is difficult to come across another description of such an enormous, mind-blowing manifestation of divine power. Arjuna sees whatever Arjuna sees. तो उनका कहने का मतलब है कि जब दिव्य चक्षु होता है तो आप इंटरकनेक्शन देख सकते हैं. While in Indian literature that Vishwarupa is described in the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and the Upanishads, and the Purana also, that is from Satvalekar. Ravi Ravindra says the key is not what is seen, the key is the eye which is able to see, which is a consequence of your yoga, your meditation, your bhakti, and so on and so forth. So that is the purpose of the chapter, to tell you that आपको जो है divine chakshu जो है generate करना है. Okay. Now this is the explanation that I've tied together for Maharshi Satvalekar and Ravi Ravindra, Professor Ravi Ravindra. Now I'm going to come to the explanation given by Maharshi Ramana Maharshi, which is at even a higher level. Okay. So let me try to explain what he has tried to say. So Ramana Maharshi was a self-realized sage, and the realization happened on its own accord when he was 16 years old. So, of course, you can read up the story of Ramana Maharshi. I'm not going into that, but I'm going to be reading from a very interesting book. It is called Hiranyabahu. Okay, Golden Hands. So, what Ramana Maharshi used to do is he used to keep copying, ये सब उनका handwriting है. You'll find extensive facsimile of his handwriting. He used to write a lot. He used to copy the scriptures and keep writing. So a number of his original, on one hand, he used to compose, but on the other hand, he used to simply transcribe. जैसे अष्टावक्र गीता है, वो उसका पूरा 300 verses का transcription है. So he used to do that for his shishyas. So the prized possession of a shishya is मेरे महर्षि के हाथ का लिखा हुआ कुछ जो है, जो भी वो देते हैं. So what the Ramana Ashram has done is it has put together the facsimile copies of all that he wrote in Sanskrit. He also wrote and copied in Tamil and in Malayalam and in Telugu. So all that is also there. And because one of the names is, one of the ways in which people call him is Hiranyabahu, Swarna Hath hai jiske. So usme jo hai, he has a, sorry for this long introduction. So he has chosen 42 shlokas of the Gita as the essence of the Gita. Okay. उसको बोलते हैं गीता सार. बाकी सब लोगों ने भी दिया है, लेकिन इनका he has rearranged the sequence also. ये नहीं कि chapter 1 का ये, chapter 2 का ये, ऐसा नहीं है. He's chosen 42. So and this was in response to a disciple who said, Guruji, Maharshi ji, 700 श्लोक जो हैं बहुत ज्यादा हैं. I cannot recall the message of all 700. So can you make it simply easier for me to daily remember the message of the Gita? So in response to that, he chose 42 shlokas. Further, there is a discussion between a disciple on the meaning of the Gita, particularly with respect to the 42 shlokas. And in that discussion, there is a reference to 11th chapter. So what is the reference? So I'm going to read from the Hiranyabahu source, the book that I showed you, and from another source of Ramana Maharshi, right? So we'll see some slight variations. So here is the original official Ramana Ashram explanation. So he says, quote, this is Maharshi's own words. The whole episode is really a wonder. Krishna tells Arjuna, now here within my body, you will see the entire universe, movable and unmovable, char or achar. That's what we find in Sanskrit. And also whatever besides you like to see. जो भी आप और कुछ देखना चाहते हो, वो भी मेरे शरीर के अंदर देख सकते हो. That's what he says. Now, I mean, this is my explanation. Further, quoting the Maharshi, if it were a form, however vast, how could Arjuna see whatever Arjuna fancied? Again, the Lord says, you see all the gods, the siddhas, the maharshis, etc. within my body. Arjuna admits that he sees them all. And in the same breath, he says that they are all going to the Lord and singing praises. Now, where do they stand in relation to Bhagavan Krishna's body, inside or outside? Where does Arjuna himself stand? These seeming inconsistencies will be diluted only when we realize that what Arjuna is being shown is not Vishwa Rupa Darshan, is Vishwa Atma Darshan. So Vishwa Atma is the same as Brahman. तो उसका कोई तो उस form, so it's a very subtle point. You may agree, sorry, there's something in my mouth, or disagree. So what he's saying is there is only the ground reality. And if you have spiritual vision to see that ground reality, then you can see all these things. आप आदित्य देख सकते हैं, रुद्र को देख सकते हैं, इनको देख सकते हैं, जो भी क्रॉस कनेक्शंस है आप देख सकते हैं. But the fact is that it is not within the body of Krishna, it is within the body of Super Krishna, which is the Brahman, which is the substratum. तो उसको जो है Ramana Maharshi has given the name of Vishwa Atma. Okay, so this is there officially recorded in the book of Ramana Ashram. Now there is another Bhagavad Gita that I have. Sorry, you must be wondering how many Bhagavad Gitas I have, but anyway, Sunil is going to come on this Sunday, and I'm going to throw all the books that I keep showing like this. सब मैं उसके सामने भी करूँगा. So anyway, so this is the Bhagavad Gita written by Alan Jacobs. Alan Jacobs is the chairman of the Ramana Maharshi Center in UK. He's an Englishman. Okay, so he has translated the Bhagavad Gita or transcreated, and in the 11th chapter, this is the explanation he gives. Okay, slightly varied from what I'm reading, but we'll read this also. Okay. So he says, Sri Krishna told, Ramana Maharshi used to say visions were mentally induced according to the religious conditioning of the visionary and were therefore from the mind. Okay. I quote now Maharshi's own words. Sri Krishna told Arjuna, I am formless, transcending all the worlds. Yet he shows Krishna his cosmic form. Arjuna sees himself, the gods, and all the worlds in it. Krishna also said, neither gods nor men can see me. And yet Arjuna sees his form. Krishna says, I am time. Has time any form? Again, if the universe be really his form, it must be one and unchanging. Why does he tell Arjuna, see in me whatever you wish to see? The answer is, the vision is mental, just according to the wishes of the seer. Hence, it should not be interpreted literally. It was not a vision according to the truth of God. They call it divine vision. Yet each one paints it according to his own views. So this is where the religious background of the person describing the Vishwarupa is very important. Okay. So what is the difference? Krishna gave Arjuna Divya Chakshu and not Jnana Chakshu. Another slight variation. The eye of, so Jnana Chakshu is the eye that will be able to see Vishwa Atma. Divya Chakshu is able to see Vishwa Rupa. This is the fundamental difference. So now we see the giant leap we have taken, and therefore, if the Vishwa Rupa were described by Christians, they would see Jesus. If it is described by Jews, they would see Jehovah. If it is described by Muslims, they would see Prophet Muhammad. So it's more of mental, and I think the key point. So there are two key points. So I finished with what I have to quote, and I would now like to summarize my understanding before you can pose your questions. So my understanding is that the entire 11th chapter is about developing intuition, which is a consequence of sadhana, whatever sadhana you do. So in that intuition also, since we are human beings who are conditioned by our spiritual background, we will be able to see through the Jnana Chakshu something more deeper. But with Divya Chakshu, we can see the same Vishwarupa Darshan that Arjuna was able to see. So we need to take it as being representative of a certain stage of development of the sadhak. And the granting of Divya Chakshu or Jnana Chakshu, depending upon which you take, would be a great act of grace. जब तक आप साधना नहीं करोगे, तब तक आपको वो आशीर्वाद नहीं मिलेगा. You cannot say, अरे भाई, मैं यहाँ से मैं ज्ञान चक्षु पहन लेता हूँ. You cannot wear it on like that. That is the point that is being made. So I thought I'll just rest my case here, and I'm sure that there are a lot of questions that you may have, because this may raise more questions than solve, but this is the best description that I have. And we have to also remember this whole Vishwarupa concept is a part of the Indian tradition. Correct? वो हर जगह पुराणों में हर जगह जो है बिखरा बिखरा हुआ, and it has all been collected together. So I am going to keep quiet now. आगे बोलिए, आप बोलिए, your questions.
ये हम लोगों के बहुत लेवल से ऊपर चला गया है, उसको समझने में ही बहुत टाइम लगेगा.
सुनील रस्तोगी, इसकी बैकग्राउंड ये है कि ये सवाल मैंने राजशेखर से व्हाट्सएप पर पूछा था परसों. अच्छा. While making my own presentation for chapter 11, मुझे ये स्ट्राइक कर रहा था. Actually my question was simple कि क्यों ये है, मतलब क्यों कॉस्मिक फॉर्म दिखाई गई है. My question was only this. Why? मतलब ये ऐसा क्यों करा गया है. और अभी जब आपका explanation आया, shall I ask my question further corollary to this?
Yes, absolutely.
That corollary is actually जब तक मैंने क्वेश्चन पूछा था उतना हिस्सा मैंने पढ़ा नहीं था, आगे और पढ़ा जब, तो मुझे दिखा कि जैसे जैसे शुरू में तो खाली ये एक्सप्लेनेशन किया गया विराट रूप का कि भाई आपके बहुत सारे बाहु हैं, या आपके अंदर मुझको 12 आदित्य दिख रहे हैं और मरुत दिख रहे हैं और रुद्र दिख रहे हैं. शुरू में तो ये सिंपल एक्सप्लेनेशन है. तो उस एक्सप्लेनेशन को तो हम आदित्य कहीं और डॉक्यूमेंट से पढ़ लिया, मरुत पढ़ लिया, रुद्र पढ़ लिया, तो समझ थोड़ा थोड़ा आने लगा कि ठीक है आपने आइकॉन्स यूज किए जो इंडियन ट्रेडिशन वाले हैं। बट बाद में ये डरावना होता चला गया और ऐसा यहाँ तक है कि जो दूसरे शत्रु के वॉरियर्स हैं उनके सिर पाउडर बन के आपके मुंह के अंदर जा रहे हैं और आपके दांतों में अटक रहे हैं, वो इस तरह का डर उसमें पैदा किया गया। बाद में जैसे ही वो 30वें 31वें श्लोक तक आया तो वहां पर उसको बिल्कुल अर्जुन को डरा, जबकि वो अर्जुन ही कह रहा है, अर्जुन ओनली सीइंग दैट, और उसको फिर डर भी लग रहा है। उसके बाद में वो प्रार्थना करेगा बट उससे पहले उसको डर लग गया है। तो मुझे ये हमेशा एक्चुअली यही बात लगता है कि रिलीजियस बुक्स में एक एलिमेंट ये वाला लाया जाता है कि किसी तरह से जो भी साधक है वो डर जाए। तो मुझे यही बात को एक्सप्लेन करने में हमेशा दिक्कत होती है, क्योंकि मेरे अगेंस्ट में जो आर्गुमेंट करने वाले होते हैं वो यही कहते हैं कि आप हमें डर के सहारे वो कराना चाहते हो साधना, आप मुझे किसी ना किसी तरह से डराना चाहते हो ताकि मैं डर जाऊं तब मैं भक्ति करूं। तो यही पॉइंट हर जगह से निकल कर आता है।
See, the fact of the life is the fundamental fear of every human being is death. Correct? We will all die one day. Now, whether you will appreciate logically that you will die one day and be able to culture your mind to face that moment is a matter of your destiny. Now, see, the issue that you have raised is what is called kutarka. Now, the question is whose tarka is correct, we don't know. जो हमारे नॉन बिलीवर्स हैं उनको हमारा जो तर्क है वो कुतर्क दिखेगा, और हमको जो बाकी लोग जो हैं उनका जो तर्क है वो कुतर्क दिखेगा. So the point that Bhagavan makes is there are two categories of people, right? There are some unconvincible people. Okay. So the point which Ramana Maharshi also makes is you don't worry about convincing the unconvincible. आप convince हो गए ना तो आप अपने को आगे बढ़ाओ. Because the unconvincible will get convinced either over a period of time which you cannot control, or over a period of janmas, which anyway you will not be there to see. So that is why if you look at the 18th chapter, probably you are saying this is sidestepping the question. Okay. But the fact of life is, boss, हमारे पास 70-80 years है, उसमें हम अपने को सुधारें कि बाकी लोगों को कन्विंस करते बैठे. ठीक है, हम तो कन्विंस हो गए कैसे भी, हमको डिप्रेशन होगा कन्विंस हो गए, या हमारे फैमिली में ट्रेजेडी हुआ कन्विंस हो गए. For whatever reason that brought us to this level of conviction, fine. Let us be thankful that we have been brought to that level. अब जो है बाकी लोगों को सुधारना is really not your job. Universe will take care of it. भाई अगर तू नहीं सुधरेगा तो कभी तो सुधरेगा ना. बकरे की माँ कब तक खैर बनाएगी, आज नहीं तो कल. So that is the point. In fact, Buddha also says the same thing. The unconvincible need not be convinced. Now, if you're saying that, look, I have a clientele which is of this attitude, then the only thing is you have to tell them how many more years are you going to. Now, if you tell a young person how many more years you're going to live, वो तो कहेगा बुढ़ा सड़िया गया. Right? बुढ़े का एक पाँव जो है कब्र में है इसलिए बोल रहा है. So young people will never understand that life is limited. Correct.
राज, ये बिल्कुल भी बात नहीं है. बात ये है कि अपने मन के अंदर भी जब एक टाइम ऐसा आता है, कुछ विपत्ति पड़ी, थोड़ी देर के लिए कन्विंस हो गए, फिर मन में फांस रह जाती है कि नहीं इसमें कुछ समझना बाकी रह गया. फिर दूसरे का पॉइंट सुनना ही पड़ के लगता है कि नहीं अभी और समझना है इस बात को. मतलब कन्विंस होते हैं, फिर अनकन्विंस टेम्परेरी हो जाते हैं. तो कन्विंसिंग और अनकन्विंस के बीच की टेम्परेरी फेज चलती रहती है, वो भी एक साइकिल चलता रहता है.
True. तो इसीलिए बोलते हैं कि भाई गीता पारायण करो. So what happens when you do पारायण is that all these doubts that you keep having will slowly get eliminated over a period of time. Correct. So ये doubt होना. So the reason why we have a doubt is कभी हमारा जो मन हुआ है वो तामसिक होता है, कभी तो सात्विक होता है, तो कभी राजसिक होता है. तो जब हमारा मन तामसिक होता है तब सारे डाउट आते हैं. जो भी ये बोल रहा है गुरुजी सब बकवास कर रहा है, हमसे पैसे लेने के लिए बोल रहा है. जब एकदम सात्विक होता है then we understand, हाँ भाई this is for my good. So the whole idea is that अगर हम देखो जो है त्रिगुणातीत बनने के लिए सबसे पहले तो सात्विक बनना पड़ता है ना. तमस से राजस, राजस से सात्विक, उसके बाद ही आप सत्य को भी पार करके आगे जाएंगे। तो कम से कम हमारा काम ये है कि भाई हमारे अंदर जो तामसिक एलिमेंट्स हैं उनको जो है खत्म करें, फिर राजसिक एलिमेंट्स जो है अपने आप जो है टाइम होते होते खत्म हो जाएंगे, करेक्ट, फिर जो है सत्य सात्विक बन जाएंगे। तो ये एक प्रोसेस है। तो वंस यू अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोसेस, देन यू जस्ट बिकम अ पार्ट ऑफ द प्रोसेस कि भाई मेरे अंदर 2-3 चीजें हैं जो कि जिसका साइकिल टाइम है 1 हफ्ता, 1 हफ्ते में मुझे वो स्वीट खाने का मन करता है। सो वो तामसिक स्वीट साइकिल 1 वीक है अगर आपको स्वीट वर्जित है, और वट एवर, करेक्ट। सो वी ऑल हैव
one question I want to just put, you have rightly said कि वो spiritual चक्षु चाहिए। तो the famous quote is then कि beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. We have to
Correct.
develop that. One of the ways method you have told you have to do bhakti, yoga, meditation, so and it is lifestyle change. It is not one day affair. Okay, भक्ति में बता दिया है कि भक्ति में आपको मतलब उसका समझना चाहिए, उसका रिचुअल्स नहीं है, और उसमें श्रद्धा से करें, जितना ड्यूरेशन में करें। और तीसरा ये है कि अपना जो भी कुछ कर रहे हैं, अभी सुन रहे हैं, तो यू फील कि भाई वो सीसी कैमरा लगा हुआ, मतलब यू आर अंडर ऑब्जर्वेशन। लेकिन मेडिटेशन वाले पोर्शन में, ऑल अलोंग मेडिटेशन में अभी ये करता हूँ कि ड्यूरेशन में कर दिया, आधा घंटा कर लिया, सुबह 15 मिनट शाम को, बट हाउ टू गेट द मेडिटेटिव पोस्चर ऑल अलोंग, इज देयर एनी वे?
ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम ना, देखो ये सब जो है वेरी ग्रेजुअल है। आप रोज साधना कीजिए, बस धीरे धीरे जो है वो चेंज आते जाएगा। इट इज नॉट लाइक अ प्रोग्रेस रिपोर्ट, यू नो, जैसे मॉडर्न उसमें होता है ना, इंक्रीमेंटल चेंज, मेजरेबल, वो सब नहीं है इसमें। धीरे धीरे आपके एटीट्यूड्स चेंज होंगे, धीरे
पता भी
धीरे
नहीं चलेगा हमको कि चेंज हो गया, ये भी होगा।
तो आपसे अगर कोई 1 साल के बाद मिलेगा तो कहेगा भाई आप तो बहुत बदल गए। बट यू हैव टू हैव दैट, सी ये सब ऑस्मोसिस की बात है। तो आपको जो है ये पढ़ते रहना है, सुबह उठ के अपना ध्यान करते रहना है और भगवत गीता पढ़ते रहना है। भगवत गीता ही क्यों पढ़े, बाकी सब भी पढ़ सकते हो, बट दिस हैज द सब्सटेंस ऑफ मेनी शास्त्रास ऑफ इंडिया एंड देयरफॉर इट इज यूजफुल। सो बिफोर यू स्टार्ट योर जर्नी, आपको डिसाइड करना है भाई मैंने कौन सा जो है, मैंने रामचरितमानस पढ़ना है या हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ना है या भगवत गीता पढ़ना है। तो द चॉइस आई मेड इज भगवत गीता बिकॉज इट इज यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेड इन इंडिया कि उसमें सब कुछ है। तो भाई आपकी जिंदगी भर का वो है, राइट। तो ये नहीं कि भाई हमने पढ़ लिया है हमें समझ में आ गया है, it's a lifelong process. So that is the point. So are you willing to dedicate? So at some point in time you है भाई 60 साल के हो गए, अब तो करो ना भाई, ठीक है, अब तक नहीं किया, अब तो कर लो। That's my point. You know, I keep saying, you know, that it is important that at least when we are 60, वही गृहस्थ आश्रम खत्म हो गया, समझो वानप्रस्थ में घुस गए। ठीक है, यू विल बी डूइंग सम क्लासेस हियर, क्लासेस देयर, कुछ फंडिंग आते जाएगा, वो बात दूसरी है, करेक्ट। बट यू आर नॉट परस्यूइंग दैट विद विगर, यू आर परस्यूइंग योर, यू नो, आत्म अनुभव हैज टू बी इनकलकेटेड, बिकॉज अभी 60 पे नहीं करोगे तो कब करोगे भाई, ये बताओ।
जितनी लाइफ शेष है वही विशेष है, बाकी तो अवशेष है।
क्या बात है सर,
बाकी तो अवशेष है, बाकी क्या करना।
Yeah, we'll do that. So anyway, this was in response to the query of Sunil ji on chapter 11. Okay. And I just go around. So Rakesh, you have any questions or your thoughts you'd like to share?
No, it's fine. I think, you know, it goes more or less the way we have discussed. And anyway,
एक छोटा सा पार्ट बचा है क्वेरी का, वो अगर आप जल्दी से बता सकते हो शायद। दैट इज कि वो विश्व को हम लोग जो है वर्ल्ड समझते हैं और वो ब्रह्मांड को यूनिवर्स समझते हैं, तो वे विश्व रूप कहा गया, तो ये ब्रह्मांड के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कहा गया है ना?
Yeah, so in Sanskrit, you know, depending on the context, you know, it is not like modern science where one word means only one thing. So Vishwarup here means universal, or Brahmand.
क्योंकि हम ट्रांसलेशन कॉस्मिक फॉर्मिक बोलते हैं ना उसको।
Cosmic. So it is the entire universe that is normally in Hindi, when we say Vishwa, we mean the world, but in this case, in Sanskrit, Vishwa means the entire Brahman, at least in the context of this chapter, right? So that is where the commentators are important, because if you are approaching it as Someone who's unfamiliar with Sanskrit, you would not know which meaning to use. So here the commentators are universal in their indication that the universe has to be understood as being indicated by the word Vishwa. Now I'll do share screen and let me share. 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, so this is the 15th chapter for some reason. Yeah. So we had actually done the 12th chapter last time, or last week. So today let's do the 13th chapter. Now we need to appreciate and understand that the 13th chapter onwards till the 18th chapter is the portion or is the 1/3 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called the section on Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is what we have from the 13th chapter onwards. From 7 to 12 was Bhakti Yoga, and from chapter 1 to chapter 6 is Karma Yoga. That is the traditional distinction. Of course, each of the yogas will be spoken about in each of the sections, but the predominance of the subject is Jnana Yoga. So in the chapters from 13 to 18, we have a lot of frameworks and concepts that will be, and interrelationships that will be spoken about. So what is the 13th chapter about? The 13th chapter, now one small thing that I must tell you about the chapter, because this is likely to confuse people. If we take the number of shlokas in Bhagavad Gita to be 700, then there will be 34 shlokas in this chapter. And if we take it to be 701, then there will be 35 shlokas. Now, the first shloka is Arjuna's question, which sometimes is not numbered. So we need to understand that if we are making a reference and find the wrong shloka, it would be +1 or -1, depending upon the reference. So it's only in this chapter that we have a slight discrepancy, depending upon whether we take 34 shlokas or 35 shlokas. So in this case, I have taken 34 traditional shlokas, and that is why the number is coming to 400, as you can see at the bottom of the right. So now here in the first 6 shlokas that we have, or first 7, so we have the concept of field. Now in physics, we have studied the concept of field, and the field is a hypothetical space where forces demonstrate their impact. So you have a gravitational field, you have a magnetic field, electrical field, electromagnetic field, you have a field of infrared, ultraviolet. So field is the place where there is a manifestation of the effects of something. So this is actually called kshetra. Kshetra is field. But in the Indian tradition, not only do we have kshetra, so we have kshetragya, kshetra ko janne wala. So there is a distinction between kshetra and kshetragya that is being made. So kshetra is the body as well as number of things in Prakriti. So basically kshetra means nature, and kshetragya or kshetra ko jane wala is Atma, the same Atma that was spoken of in its broader context as Vishwa Atma. So the first 7 shlokas talk about what is field and what is the knower of the field. So that's what we have. Now the knower of the field is the Atma, and therefore the human being who understands this difference between kshetra and kshetragya, he's a jnani. So between 8 and 12, we have given, or rather the Bhagavad Gita gives you various qualities of the jnani, who is a human being who understands the nature of kshetra and kshetragya. Because kshetragya does not mean jnani. Kshetragya means Atma. तो आत्मा को जानने वाला ज्ञानी हुआ, और उसके क्या क्या क्वालिटीज हैं यहाँ पे दिए हुए हैं. some 35 qualities: humility, amanitvam, madambatvam, ahimsa, kshanta, arjava. So the idea is that if you have these qualities, you'll automatically know the Atma. or if you know the Atma, you will have this quality. So it's like a two-way interaction that we have. So that's what we have in the second row, which is the qualities of a Jnani. Okay. Now, in Shloka 13 to 18, we have the properties of Atma, properties of Brahman. So it is very clearly given, and I'll tell you, something in terms of what has been described, 13 to 18. It says, something like chapter 11, Sarvatah Pani Padam, uske palm har jagah hai, uska sir har jagah hai, वो हर चीज सुन सकता है, उसके कान हर जगह हैं, and then Bahirantashya Bhutanam, it is within and without beings. So basically it is that all pervasive which has been described so graphically in chapter 11, that is again being talked about very, very clinically कि ये उसके properties हैं. Okay, so that's what we have in Shloka 13 to 18. And then from Shloka 19 to 35 or 34, depending upon. Here I've, of course, done the division as 35, but in the counting I've done only 34. So 19 to 34 is all about Prakriti and Purusha. That is Prakriti and Kshetragya. So we need to understand that Prakriti is equal to Kshetra. That is looking at the row 4 and row 1. And Purusha is Kshetragya. So Prakriti and Purush, Atma and Deha, these are all various terms that are used to indicate the spirit inside you and the body that you are. And Shloka 19 to 35 is full of how will you distinguish between. So it is like the table of properties. If you recall, we have the periodic table, or we have, I don't know, what is it that we use? Steam tables. I mean, I'm talking the engineering side, steam tables for understanding the property of steam at various temperatures, or you have conductivities to go on the electrical side, or various electromagnetic properties. So those are all properties of Prakriti. And there is someone who understands Prakriti, which is a Purusha. So this whole chapter is about Kshetra, Kshetragya Vibhaga Yoga. Coming back to the chapter title, Kshetra और Kshetragya में आप कैसे विभाग करेंगे और उससे आप जो है Brahman को कैसे समझेंगे. That's the whole intent of the chapter. So coming to the summary that we have of the chapter. Again, this is Ravi Shankar, Ram Shankar Tripathi. He says Prakriti is constituted by 5 gross elements. Gross elements we know, which is Apu, Teju, Vayu, Akash, Prithvi, plus the totality of our body and our mental construct, the sense organs and their objects. Prakriti is unaware but active. So Prakriti is always active because that's the nature, but it is not aware because awareness comes from Purusha or Kshetragya. The knowing principle, so point number 2 comes to that same thing. The knowing principle is the spirit, Purusha, which is a reflection of the eternal supreme. So Purusha जो आपके अंदर है, वो ब्रह्मन का एक आभास है, आभासित है. It is dependent on the power of the Brahman. The Purusha is not involved in action, but is aware of all. So it is like the battery inside you, but the action of the mechanism is that of the mechanism. So आपने जो हाथ पांव किया या आपने कुछ भी किया, it is because it is powered by the Purusha, but the Purusha is not directly involved in the activity. So that's point number 2. Point number 3, while expressing itself through nature, spirit gets partially conditioned by qualities of nature and forgets its own blissful singularity and functioning inside nature. तो इसी को माया बोलते हैं. माने आत्मा भूल जाता है कि मैं आत्मा हूँ, और you start identifying with the body. मैं लंबा हूँ, मैं छोटा हूँ, मैं दाया हूँ, मैं बाया हूँ, मैं गोरा हूँ, मैं काला हूँ. All that is the ignorance, अज्ञान, जो कि हम लोगों के अंदर है, जहाँ पे हम भूल जाते हैं कि हम लोग आत्मा हैं. So all the sadhana is for you to get back to understanding that you are the Atma. So point number 4, the veiled spirit, माने जो देही है, वो देह के अंदर छुपा हुआ है. So the dehi or the Atma thus functioning inside inert nature, which is deha, behaves as the jiva. So ye dehi ko jiva bolte hain, and suffers the pleasure and pain of its deeds. So jo bhi deh ne kiya, usko bhi suffer karna padta hai. Worldly pleasure is also suffering because it is doomed to be lost. So jagat mein jo bhi hota hai, wo aaj hoga to kal chale jayega, kal chale jayega to parson aayega. There is no constancy in the world. So point number 5 is when the veil of ignorance is lifted by practice of solid qualities and values. तो जो हमने देखा था कि ज्ञानी के गुण हैं, जब उनको हम प्रैक्टिस करते हैं तो ignorance is removed. Obviously जब ज्ञानी के गुण होते हैं तो अज्ञान का जो पर्दा है वो तो निकलेगा ही निकलेगा. The spirit again emits the light and dualities of nature vanish. These virtues become knowledge in themselves when imbibed. So by imbibing virtues, we are also becoming more jnani. That is the point that is being made here. Further on, and this of course only the last chapter we'll do today, 14th one we'll do next week. Knowledge of the God principle, beginningless, eternal, limitless, creator, sustainer. I'm reading the 6th point. Annihilator of all, neither existent nor existent, neither performer, is essential for contemplation. So ये जो है क्षेत्रज्ञ के जो है qualities हैं. These are the properties of क्षेत्रज्ञ. So he's calling it God principle in this particular summary. The God principle, point number 7, the God principle is present in every creature, in nature, in all creation. Hence, you must not hurt any beings of the environment. So Atma जो है सर्वगत है, as we were discussing earlier on when we were referring to the 11th. So these are all interconnected chapters in one way. Aspects are taken in each chapter. Then a 9th one is perform hard work, but do not get entangled in the reward, which is karma yoga. With the support of knowledge of truth, devotion and practice establish values of dharma, you are sure to attain. So mane if you inculcate a sattvic mind, inculcate good qualities, automatically आपके अंदर बुद्धि योग जो है प्रदान होता है. ददामी बुद्धि योगम भगवान ही बोलते हैं. दिव्य चक्षु प्रदान होता है. So finally we have freedom, salvation, liberation, moksha is our goal. Permanent happiness can come our way through this path along with meditation upon him. The world is a play of the supreme. सब ऊपर वाले का खेल है. The moment you get established in the state of wisdom, the world of pleasure and pain dissolves. This is salvation. The sun dances in the lake, spirit dances in nature, but both are alike superimposition of the snake on the rope. तो ये snake और rope का जो है वेदांत में काफी कुछ है कि भाई अंधेरे में हम किसी चीज को सांप समझते हैं, लेकिन वो हकीकत में सिर्फ रस्सी है. So in the same way, we think of this body as real, but in reality, it is only the Atma. Okay, so that is the analogy. And so as long as we think of it as a body, we are mistaking the rope to be the snake. The moment we realize it is only a rope and not a snake, we are realizing the kshetragya, the purusha within us, which is the whole purpose behind all sadhana. So with that, I'm going to stop the share and be open to questions that may arise. So over to Vishwaroop. विश्वरूप दर्शन हो गए सर, आपका नाम ही ऐसा है.
Actually, today I was very busy with household activities. In fact, that's why I shut my phone. I started doing it. Nobody's there in the house. But I was listening to whatever you were saying. What I have understood is basically this bhakti yoga is over now. Now we are going into Gyan Yoga.
Correct.
And the 13 to basically from 13 to 18 chapter is all about Gyan Yoga. And now we are trying to visualize God actually. The way what God wants us to do, what is the nature of things He wants to help us to understand actually. So he's present in every creature, and every creature supreme is expressed through nature, and all those things which you have given. I was just making a mental summary on those things. And perform your work and don't worry about the result. I mean, that sort of things in bits and pieces I have actually understood. I have not understood it in details.
So you need to read the chapter And you see, this chapter is a very scientific chapter because Kshetra and Kshetragya is true irrespective of whether you're a Muslim or you're a Christian or a Hindu or a Jain or a Buddha. Correct? See, you may still say that chapter 11 is about Krishna, Adityas, Vishnu, which is very Hindu oriented, which is very, very Puranic oriented. But if you take this chapter, it is very scientific, very precise. He says there's a field, there's a knower of the field has these properties, knower of the field has these properties. If you attain these properties through your sadhana, you will gain. Now, irrespective of your religion, this is true. And therefore, this pure Jnana Yoga is what we need to understand. Ekdam funda, ekdam sahi hai. It's the most scientific of all chapters.
This is basically pure science, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Swami Chinmayananda will be jumping up and down when he does this chapter because he doesn't have to convince anybody. Your own logic will have to convince yourself. So here you don't have to say Vishwarupa hai, Vishwa Atma hai, वो body के अंदर है, body के बाहर है, कुछ भी नहीं है. Straightforward logic.
No assumption, basically. No assumption.
It's a statement of principle. The statement of principle, and therefore chapter 13 is a very popular chapter amongst the scientists because there is a lot that can be derived from that and where the scientists currently miss out. So the scientists, modern science, does not recognize Kshetragya. It only recognizes Kshetra, which is the material world. Kshetragya ko mante nahi hai, isliye sab gadbad hota hai. So this is also an indication of the charter the scientists should have in terms of what is a mindset they should approach science. And Indian Vaigyanik jo the in the traditional form, they were all people who had Kshetragya knowledge and therefore their Kshetra knowledge was supreme. All Indian scientific contributions are amazing because they were all Kshetragyas who were understanding Kshetra. But here you have Kshetra understanding Kshetra. तो एक उंगली जो है अपने आप को तो फंसा नहीं सकता ना, दूसरा उंगली फंसा सकता है. करेक्ट. So we need a different.
Raj, just one more. I think it is also indicating something else also. Like we have heard in recent past, even we have been hearing from a long time. Germans have been using our Hindu philosophy to get into a lot of scientific facts which they have not actually. What should I say? The help from Hindu Shastra on scientific facts. So I think this is the chapter 13 to 18. Probably this is the area where they have probably placed all their informations to analyze the information from 13 to 18 chapter, which has given them gyan or informations on new theories or facts, which helps us to understand the logic of things that have happened in the world.
Well, it's not the Bhagavad Gita because Bhagavad Gita was always available. There are unknown texts which are with them, right? It is that.
No, like well, like you were saying, no, the Muslims also will accept, Christians will also accept. These are all facts. These are not information where you have to assume this is a soul, the soul is a Paramatma soul. Those things do not come into this chapter. So probably I was thinking it is like that. Is it like that?
No, at least you have to accept Atma. If you don't accept Atma, then the whole theory falls. So Kshetragya is an important concept which is introduced here in this chapter, which is Purusha or Atma. Again, it was introduced earlier on in the second chapter, so it's not a new concept, but the framework in which it is being spoken about is definitely new. So see, everywhere there's a reframing of concepts, boss. Fundamentally, Bhagavad Gita is over in the second chapter. आगे कुछ करने का नहीं है. Okay. But everywhere
हम लोग एक चीज यूज करते हैं, जैसे क्षेत्र है तो फील्ड बोला, तो हम लोग उसको कंप्यूटर वाले लोग हार्डवेयर से डिनोट करते हैं और क्षेत्र के मतलब सॉफ्टवेयर जो हम आत्मा जिसको बोल रहे हैं, और कंप्यूटर यूजर वो ज्ञानी है जो इन दोनों के बारे में जानता है. राकेश विल अप्रिशिएट दिस पॉइंट. हार्डवेयर, सॉफ्टवेयर और यूजर, ये जो तीन एलिमेंट्स होते हैं हमारे, ये प्रॉपर्ली बताए गए हैं 13 चैप्टर में.
So actually software is also the kshetra. I mean, software is not the kshetragya. The architect who writes the software, he is a kshetragya.
नहीं, एक्चुअली हम लोग जब आत्मा का बात करते हैं तो एसेंस की बात करते हैं ना, जो चीज चला रही है. इन सबको जो चला रहा है, जो हमारे जितने एलिमेंट्स हैं उनको चला रहा है, तो उनको चलाने वाला ठीक है, हम उसीलिए सॉफ्टवेयर बोल रहे हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर जो चला रहा है।
यूजर के रेफरेंस में सॉफ्टवेयर जो है वही है, हमें आर्किटेक्ट को नहीं मालूम है, वी नो ओनली सॉफ्टवेयर।
इसीलिए तो माया का वर्जन 1 है, वर्जन 2 है, वर्जन 3 है, वर्जन चले जाता है, राइट? So anyway, I think you're right. So at a popular level, definitely software is the driving force. It's like the battery which runs the hardware. Otherwise, it does not run. Hardware will fail. तो राकेश जी सोच रहे हैं कि इतने अनपढ़ इंजीनियर यहाँ हैं, मैं सॉफ्टवेयर वाला उस्ताद बैठा हूँ।
नहीं, आत्मा मतलब एसेंस है ना, आत्मा मतलब एसेंस है।
आत्मा, okay, no, it's not actually in that sense it is used. It is the atma which is there in the human body, which is the उसमें जो प्राण है, उसमें मन है, बुद्धि है, और बुद्धि से भी परे है। So it is the essence is what you can say broadly, because आत्मा का definition क्या है? That's a big question that we come to.
ठीक है, वही तो पूरा वो गीता पढ़ के वही तो समझने की कोशिश करनी है, बट आत्मा की डेफिनेशन ही तो मुश्किल है। और उसको ऊपर से ब्राह्मण से इक्वेट कर दो तो और बड़ी बात हो जाती है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। Okay, so let me refer to Sunil.
Buddhi is the part of Atma. What you said.
नहीं, it's not a part of Atma. अलग है। एक हायरार्की है, सबसे ऊपर आत्मा है, फिर बुद्धि है, फिर मनस है, फिर इंद्रिय है, इंद्रिय और फिर जो है देह है, बॉडी। तो देह, इंद्रिय, प्राण, क्योंकि जब तक प्राण जो है इंद्रियों में और देह में नहीं होता तो आगे काम बनता नहीं। जब प्राण चले जाते हैं तो आपके इंद्रिय खत्म हो जाते हैं, आपका देह भी खत्म हो जाता है। तो इन सबका पावर हाउस तो ऊपर है, लेकिन जो बुद्धि है, जो मनस है, जो इंद्रिय है, जो शरीर है, इसको प्रकृति का टुकड़ा बोलते हैं, और जो आत्मा है वो पुरुष है। तो आत्मा का कैटेगरी अलग है।
आत्मा तो निर्जीव में भी होती है ना, जस्ट अ मिनट, आत्मा निर्जीव में भी मानी जाती है ना, ये तो प्राणी के लिए एक्सप्लेनेशन है। आत्मा तो निर्जीव में भी होती है ना?
नहीं, बिल्कुल होती है, एक्सेप्ट कि उसके एक्सप्रेशन का कोई मीडियम नहीं है। जब तक इंद्रिय नहीं है, जब तक मन नहीं है, तो जो आपका जो निर्जीव है, जो जड़ है, उसमें भी आत्मा है, लेकिन जड़ चीजों में मनस नहीं है, इंद्रिय नहीं है, बुद्धि नहीं है, तो इसलिए आत्मा का एक्सप्रेशन जो है बहुत कम है उसमें। बट उसमें भी आत्मा है, क्योंकि आत्मा जो है सर्वगत है ना, हर जगह है, हुआ है।
समस्त भूतानी,
हाँ,
समस्त भूतानी में।
क्या बात है सर, क्या बात है, आप तो सब लोग ज्ञानी बन गए।
In one of the newspaper once a quote was there, Bikini and statistics are alike. What it reveals is suggestive, what it conceals is vital. So our body conceals the atma, so that is vital.
तो हम सबको जो है आत्मा समझने के लिए बिकनी पहनना चाहिए, ये है। या तो हमको बिकनी पहनना चाहिए, या हमको बिकनी पहनने वालों को देखना चाहिए। आत्मा के बारे में सब कुछ समझ आ जाएगा,
सब समझ आ जाएगा।
In the lighter vein, this will be better understood.
Absolutely, आपको ये भी पता चल जाएगा कि कौन से इंद्रिय आपके वश में है और कौन से इंद्रिय आपके
राजेश भी बड़े ढूंढ के लाता है।
You should laugh openly.
Absolutely. So I think what's the time now? It's going to be 12:30. So I think it's a wonderful session that we had today with a lot of discussion around 11th chapter and the 13th chapter. So we will keep the discussion going. Next week we will do 14 and 15. Again, in 14 we'll find it's a very clinical description of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And 15 we have Purushottama Yoga, which is again a very, very clear description of how the world system operates. So again, as I was sharing with Vishwarup, it is pure Jnana Yoga. Then 16th chapter is a very, very, very clear distinction on who are the Daiva, Asur, Sampad Vibhaga. Who are the good folks and who are the bad folks. राइट, वेरी वेरी, दो ही तरह के लोग हैं। ये जो चातुर्वर्ण्यम है, ये तो सिर्फ गुण और काम का जो विभाग है, तो हकीकत में दो ही टाइप के लोग होते हैं। एक लोग बकवास, नहीं, जैसे मैंने पिछली बार ही कहा था, एक तो सुनील रस्तोगी और दूसरा साकेत रस्तोगी। सॉरी
अब उसका भी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो गया होगा अब तक तो।
wherever he is and if he is watching this, I'm sure that you're a reformed
नहीं, अब तक उसका भी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो गया होगा।
That's what I was going to say कि शायद ट्रांसफॉर्म हो गया हो वो भी।
हाँ, करेक्ट, बट ओल्ड इमेजेस डाई हार्ड। हमें तो वही साकेत याद है जो कि हमारे कॉलेज का छटा हुआ बदमाश था। So anyway, so that is there. So and then the 17th chapter is on Shraddha. Shraddha क्या क्या टाइप का होता है, और 18th chapter is the total summary in very very clinical fashion of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So it's very interesting, and once we go through this, again and again, आपका जो है ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होती है।
आज मुझे एक रिसोर्स चाहिए आपसे, एक रिसोर्स में हेल्प चाहिए। जो गीता में ये जो रेफर किए जाते हैं ना, ये गरुड़ है, मतलब ये सॉरी रुद्र है और मरुत है और आदित्य है, तो इनके मतलब विकिपीडिया पे वैसे तो मिल जाते हैं, नाम मिल जाते हैं, बट इनकी कोई सिग्निफिकेंस है या इनको हमने किसी नेचुरल पावर से जोड़ा है या कुछ किसी चीज के आइकॉन है, ये रेफरेंस मुझे बहुत अच्छा नहीं मिल रहा है। तो अगर आपके पास कोई ऐसा रिसोर्स हो जिसमें जो ये लिनिएजेस और ये नेम्स तमाम तरह के बताए गए, गॉड्स एंड सब गॉड्स एंड डेमी गॉड्स, तो
अच्छा, तो मैं यूज करता हूँ कि मैं अव्वल दर्जे का ओल्ड फैशन हूँ, मेरे पास किताबें हैं, और आप जो है अव्वल दर्जे के मॉडर्न सीकर हो, तो मैं आपको वो बुक्स के रेफरेंस दे देता हूँ, फिर आप ढूंढ के निकाल दीजिए।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, बस वही ढूंढ के फिर निकाल लूंगा। हाँ, ठीक है।
So I'll do that because there are a lot of references, very traditional references available. So I will share that with you. In fact, that is a big, huge exercise by itself, which I done for 10th chapter. So I have to now update that. I will do that and I'll send it to you.
नहीं, मुझे इनके गोयनका जी की किताबों में नाम तो पूरे मिल गए। जो जयदयाल गोयनका जी किताबों में जो फुटनोट्स रहते हैं उसमें नाम पूरे रहते हैं उनके।
हाँ, रहते हैं, लेकिन कहानी नहीं रहती।
कहानी नहीं रहती है, तो वो अगर हमें अलग से पढ़नी है ताकि उसका मीनिंग कुछ समझ में आए तो
I'll do that, क्योंकि वो it was also a question from my students in the batch that I'm running, so I had done some work there, but I think what I'll also have to do is I will take you through that, क्योंकि कभी-कभी स्टोरीज जो हैं यहाँ से वहां से पढ़ के, जैसे मैंने महर्षि का जो पीस टुगेदर किया 2-3 सोर्स से, तो मैं let me see what I can do.
Okay.
I will share that with you, right? Okay.
I think हर अब चैप्टर जितने भी हैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चैप्टर्स हैं, उन पे पूरा सेशन चाहिए, नॉट 2 चैप्टर्स कैन बी कवर्ड इन 1 सेशन।
हाँ, डिपेंड्स अपॉन द
स्पेशली जो 14 चैप्टर अभी आने वाला है, जो गुण वाला है, गुणातीत एंड ऑल द 3 गुण, दैट नीड्स डिटेल चाहिए होगा पे।
इनफैक्ट
एक आप लोग वो होमवर्क, एक जो एक रेगुलर जो होमवर्क डिफाइन किया गया है, वो आप लोग भी थोड़ा थोड़ा कर रहे हो क्या?
नहीं, अभी नहीं
कर रहे हैं, बट इन द सेंस, सी आई एम नॉट चेकिंग इट, बिकॉज़ हु एम आई टू चेक?
नहीं, चेकिंग नहीं, बट वो आप वो वहां पे डाल दे रहे थे ना, एक गूगल ड्राइव पे, कम से कम वो डाल दो तो हम पढ़ लेंगे उनको भी।
सो आई विल डू दैट। तो आप जो है जस्ट इट इज अ सेल्फ ट्यूटोरियल, ओके।
हाँ, बस उनको पढ़ना चाहते हैं कि जो हम लोगों के साथी हैं उनको क्या समझ में आ रहा है, हमें क्या समझ में आ रहा है, ये तो पता लगे ना।
हो जाएगा।
So please share the same thing. I'm sorry, I have been little lax. I have not put it in these, so I'll just check किन का डाला है, मेल किन का आया है, विश्वरूप का आया था, अंदर मैं शेयर कर देता हूँ, वो कॉमन फोल्डर में डाल देता हूँ, फिर आगे देखिए। ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर joining in.
नमस्कार।
Thank you. Namaskar. Take care.